Okay, so we have just refreshed our brains on how to tell time to the nearest hour and half hour. And now we're ready to move on to tell time in 5-minute increments. Okay, so what we're going to do first is we're going to look at the clock right now. We are going to tell the time that it shows, and we can do this in a snap because if we take a look at the hour hand, we see it's on a 2, and the minute hand is on the 12, so we know that that means the clock right now is telling us that it's 2 o'clock. But it's important for me today to teach you what happens when the minute hand is not directly on the 12 or the 6. I'm going to teach you what it means when the minute hand is on one of these other numbers, okay? So for me to do that, it's important for me to teach you what those numbers on the clock face mean. What I want you to do is I need you to think of a clock as one big circular number line, okay? It's a circular number line that starts at 1, and right here would be where it starts, and it goes all the way up to 60, okay? The end mark for our number line is our 12. That is where our number line ends. So it's one big circular number line that starts right here, goes all the way around, and then ends at 60. Each of these big numbers that you see would be just like our benchmark numbers, okay, that we would see on a normal number line. So each of these benchmark numbers are counting by 5s. I know that seems kind of crazy right now because to us it looks like it's saying 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, that's not counting by 5s. But what I mean by that is each of these benchmark numbers are taking 5 steps. So let me tell you what I mean. So we know that 1 hour can be split up into 60 minutes, okay? The numbers on the clock tell us how many steps of 5 minutes there are. Let me show you what I mean. So this one right here is showing 5 steps of 1. Look at these little numbers. These little ticks right here are by 1. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. And then this big benchmark number right here is 5. And it's a 1 because it's showing us that it's 1 step of 5. And then the 2 is showing 2 steps of 5. What are 2 steps of 5? Let's check. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. What are 3 steps of 5? 3 steps of 5 are 15. What do you notice we're counting by? 5, 10, 15. What do you think 4 steps of 5 is? 20, right? 20. What's 5 steps of 5? 25. And, 5, 10, 15, 20. 25. 6 steps of 5 is 30 steps. And what do you know about a time when we have the minute hand on the 6? What do we call that? What would we call this time? We already know this. We would call this time 2:30. Wow. Now it's really starting to make sense why we call that 2:30. We knew it was halfway to 60, right? And now you can see why we call that halfway, okay? Because it's like a big circular number line. If it was a straight number line from 1 to 60, your 30 would be right halfway in the middle of that, wouldn't it? It's the same exact thing on a clock. So, but let's keep going. So 30, 6 steps of 5 are 30. What are 7 steps of 5? 35. 8 steps. 40. 35, 40, 40, 45. 45 plus 5 is 50. What is 11 steps of 5? 55, because we're still just going up by 5. And then that would make this last number, what are 12 steps of 5? 60. Okay, so I know that was a lot to learn, but all you have to remember is that to tell time in 5-minute increments, you just need to be able to count by 5s, which I know we all know how to do. And your benchmark numbers are going to be the big numbers that you see on a clock's face. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to move the minute hand around, and I want you to tell me what you notice happens to the clock each time I move this minute hand. What do you notice happens to the hour hand as I move the minute hand? Okay? So after I do it, you can pause the video to talk about what you noticed. All right, what'd you notice? What happened to the hour hand every time I move the minute hand? The hour hand moved with it, right? Yeah, and we already knew that, but we were working on before moving the minute hand from 12 to 6, and that was it. And we knew the hour hand would move halfway between the numbers. But guess what? The hour hand even moves when it's moving only at 5 minutes at a time. Crazy. Okay, so now that we've learned all that, the benchmark numbers, counting by 5s, now we're going to try and tell some time. Okay, so let's move on. Let's take a look at this right here. So we are going to tell the time on this clock just as if we would any other time that you have before. So the first thing you do is you're going to look at where the hour hand is pointing, right? So we're going to look really closely. I'm going to draw a line from where the hour hand is pointing just so that I can keep myself organized, and I'm going to be really careful since this is something new. So the hour hand isn't pointing directly on the 9, right? But the 9 is the last number it passed. So that means when I'm writing it as I would on a digital clock, I'm going to put a 9 for our hours, okay? It's been 9 hours out of the day. And then, just as we would if we were telling time normally, we're going to take a look at where the minute hand is pointing. So it's a little bit different because, like we said, it's not pointing on the 12 or 6 like we're used to. Where is the minute hand pointing now? What number? It's on the 2, right? So that minute hand is telling us it has taken 2 steps of 5. And it's our job to figure out what 2 steps of 5 are. But we can do that, right? Let's try it. 1 step of 5 is 5. 5, what's 2 steps of 5? 10. Our time is 9:10. Easier than it seemed, right? So, we're telling time like we always have. We're looking at the hour hand where the last number it passed, and we write that first. And then our next step is to look where the minute hand is, how many steps of 5 it's taken, and then we write that in the place where we would normally write our minutes. Let's take a look at the next one. So, over here, our first step is to look at the last number the hour hand passed. So, what is the first thing you would write when you're telling the time here? I'm going to write it. Tell me if you got the same thing. 7? Did you write 7? If you did, great job. 7, our hour hand passed a 7 last. Now we have to find the minute. So our minute hand is way over here on the 5. So our minute hand is telling us it has taken 5 steps of 5. So it's our job to count by 5s all the way to the 5. So let's do that now. 1 step of 5 is 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. So, finish writing our time. 7:25. Not so bad, right? 7:25. Let's do one more. Okay, so this one is trying to trick us a little bit, but we're not going to let it trick us. Okay? First step is to find where the hour hand is pointing. And if you look at it really quickly, you might think it's pointing at the 6. But if we're being really careful, we see it has not quite touched the 6 yet. It has still only passed the 5. Not reached the 6. Okay? So when we're writing this time like we would on a digital clock, we're going to say it's still in the 5th hour of the day. It has not reached 6 o'clock yet. And now our job is to count how many minutes past 5 it is. So let's do that. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50. How many minutes passed? 55. So the time that this clock is saying is 5:55. Or we can say it's 55 minutes past 5. And look, this minute hand is really pretty close to the 12. Okay? It is only 5 minutes away from being 6, which makes sense, right? Let's watch. If we turn this clock to 6, look, the hour hand did not have to travel very far to get to the 6. So the later it is and the more minutes it is past a certain hour, the closer that this hour hand is going to get to the next number. If we brought this minute hand all the way back to the 1, which is only 5 minutes past 5, you'll see it's still close to the 5. And then when we bring it to the 6, which means it's half past 5, it's right halfway in between. But when we brought it to the 11 and made it 55 minutes past 5, it was pretty close to the 6 because it's only one more jump of 5 away from the 12. Okay? So don't worry if this doesn't make complete sense right now, okay? I'm going to make another video to walk you through your journal work and we'll do the step in together. I know that this is so new and it's a little bit confusing, so I don't want you to stress about it. You're going to get it soon enough. We are still just learning, okay? You're doing a great job watching the videos, so keep it up.